Good afternoon. My name is Chris Wheeler, and I'm here from InCellDX. And I've been involved with InCellDX as an advisor now for 3 years, and was an investor in the company personally on a personal basis, and then now have joined the company to help commercialize their very interesting technology around diagnostics and therapeutics. So the objective of InCellDX is to really conquer chronic inflammation. And we've got over 70 patents issued to date on our diagnostics and therapeutics. And we look at chronic inflammation as a kind of a broad category, much like cancer, often leading to cancer. And we've got kind of the first and only combination diagnostic and therapeutic for long COVID. So let me go through our company. So I'm going to talk about 4 areas of the company, and I'll kind of summarize at the end that we think all of these 4 areas are very accretive. With telemedicine, it helps us develop diagnostics and therapeutics, and with health data, it helps us with diagnostics and therapeutics. We're in a phase 3 pivotal clinical trial for release of a diagnostic and therapeutic for long COVID, and that FDA clinical trial will be done this summer. We've got 6 diagnostics in the marketplace. We do $2.5 million in revenue and growing. We've raised about $22 million to date. We've got a $10 million convertible note open, and we've raised $3 million on that. So we're looking to close an additional $7 million. So the telemedicine practice, we've got 43,000 patients registered on our portal. So they've consented to share their health information. We've got 12,300 patients that we've treated in our telemedicine practice. We have 8 physicians, ranging from MD, PhDs to medical doctors and so forth. And so that we've been really caring for people during the pandemic for what people are presenting with: brain fog, fatigue, and we've developed and distinguished patients who have different forms of chronic inflammation. So we can tell the difference between someone who has long COVID, someone who has fibromyalgia, someone who has Lyme disease, someone who has a vaccination injury, for example. So our diagnostics for long COVID, they are in the marketplace. We are selling them right now. They're a 90% gross margin product. We get reimbursement for them. It's a 98% sensitivity, which, if you're familiar with diagnostics, is extremely high and very, very accurate. And by the way, I'm happy to send this to you as well if that would be helpful, or people can take screenshots. But it's the diagnostics that's been the bread and butter of the company. But we now have multiple therapeutics that we're developing, and one that's in phase 3 clinical trials. So on the therapeutic side, that we have provided off-label use of our therapeutic to literally thousands of patients, and over a 6 to 12 week period of time, have a 90% response rate, where people are returning to their pre-COVID symptoms for things like long COVID. So the way we do that is we need to make sure that we understand whether someone who's presenting with brain fog, fatigue, all these symptoms that kind of all Americans have. But how do we distinguish the patients that have something called Lyme disease and some the patients who have long COVID? So long COVID is about 30 million patients in the U.S. Lyme disease is about 6 million patients in the U.S. They are very separate diseases, and they have the same symptoms. So we can distinguish between those 2 diseases with 98% sensitivity, which is to say we have a low p-value. The FDA clinical trial we're going through is a 505(b)(2). So it's a label expansion of drugs that have been proven to be safe over the years. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the therapeutic. So this is our 505(b)(2) study overview in terms of our schedule. So the protocols have been accepted by the FDA, and then we'll go through our testing. It'll start with validating the diagnostic, which we've already given to 12,000 patients, and then that will be the inclusion criteria for the therapeutic. The therapeutic will be roughly 250 patients, and that will have already been tested on 12,000 patients. So we're really comfortable with what we know the results of that clinical study will be. For those who are not familiar with 505(b)(2), it's an accelerated phase 3 clinical trial that allows you to expand the use of drugs that have been proven to be safe in the past. But it doesn't mean that those drugs are not very, very valuable from a market cap perspective and from a revenue perspective. So some big blockbuster drugs have used the 505(b)(2). And for us, it's just a capital efficient way to get to market. The fourth leg of our business is the AI health data platform. And a lot of companies talk about AI and machine learning. I personally have studied AI and machine learning for years now with a team out of Berkeley and Stanford. And I've founded and run other AI machine learning companies in the healthcare space. We truly have a novel way to distinguish different chronic fatigue diseases using AI and machine learning. And all the biomarkers we have are cytokine based, and I'm happy to talk about what those are. And our technology is proprietary. It is patented, and no one else can use our diagnostics, and no one else can use our therapeutics. But the platform of having telemedicine, diagnostic therapeutics, along with all of the health data, we've made a decision that that's an accretive formation of entities. So we've talked about spinning out the therapeutic. We've talked about spinning out the diagnostic. We decided to keep it all together. We think that's the right approach for our investors. So that's kind of a summary slide there. So the financials are really talking our current run rate, which is 2.5 million a year ARR, and then ramping that to $1 billion in revenue within 3 years. And that's really having a blockbuster drug in the marketplace with long COVID. And then we've got a current investment round open. It's a convertible note. It's got a market interest rate, 15% discount, $75 million cap. And on the 3 million that has come in so far, everyone said that cap's pretty fair. So I'm happy to answer questions about that.
And John, can you answer questions? John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have I have a few questions. First off, is this a lab developed test? Because it sounds like it's already, your diagnostics test is already in market and you're generating revenues from it currently. Is that correct?
That's correct. So it falls under the regulatory CLIA LDTs. So if people are familiar with those, lab developed test, CLIA. So we're CLIA approved LDT test. It's called a 14-plex test. The branding is called InCellKine test. InCellKine test, and we test patients directly, and we also develop kits with reagents for third-party testing labs, and we get reimbursement for that test right now.
Now, and the reimbursement for the test, and that's for long COVID. Is there a specific CPT code that is relative to that? Do you bill the insurance directly, or do you bill the patients directly? How does that model work?
There is a specific CPT code. It's long COVID related. We can send you the information on that. When we launched this diagnostic, we did it all credit card, all patient paid, and then we received reimbursement, and now we're rolling out that reimbursement across the rest of the payer network.
And my last question, as an adjunct to that, you're in phase trials. Is this for the therapy to coincide with long COVID?
It is. So it's a therapeutic to return patients to their pre-COVID symptoms. So patients who are determined diagnostically to have long COVID, we provide them this therapy. It's a pill in the morning, a pill in the evening over a 6 to 12 week period of time. It's got a 90% response, and it's curative to returning people to their pre-COVID conditions.
Is this being marketed as a wellness or as an actual specific inflammatory condition that's billable by insurance, or is this a client pay side?
No, it's not a kind of a health and wellness platform that would fall outside of reimbursement or FDA jurisdiction. So we are making claims that will be part of the validation process on the phase 3 pivotal clinical trial. Okay. And so the diagnostic is CLIA LDT approved, but the diagnostic will also be FDA approved, as part of the companion diagnostic.
That's the diagnostic. I was actually referring to the treatment itself.
So there's a diagnostic which distinguishes and specifically determines that someone has long COVID. Of
course.
And then we have a therapeutic, which is it's a drug. We have a drug. We developed a drug, and that drug is in phase 3 clinical trials.
Congratulations. That's huge. And well,
I think historically it takes $1 to $2 billion to develop a drug. We've done it on 22 million.
That's an incredible pathway. I mean, from development to end of day. what is your ETA to have this drug in market?
So we hope to be FDA approved in the summertime, and we will have, and then we're rolling out with distribution partners in the fall. And so we show first revenue for the drug would be January 1st, 2025, but we'll have revenue before then.
About 5 minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
You're welcome. And what was your name, sir?
Oh, I apologize. My name is John Michael Cataldi. I'm with the Native American Venture Fund.
Okay. Very good questions. Are there other questions that I can answer? Yes.
Hey, Chris,
Gus, yes.
just, I didn't catch everything that you said in your answer to him, but it was really interesting. So are insurers agreed to reimburse for the test cost, or certain insurers, the testing? I'm not talking about the cure that you're developing, but just the testing kit itself. Are there reimbursements for that?
Yeah, so we have kind of the largest payer right now is providing a reimbursement of $460 per test for the diagnostic. And then we're starting a campaign to work with the other payers to get them to do it.
So Medicare is paying it 100%.
Oh, so Medicare is on board with that.
That's right.
Medicare is done.
I'm Brian Broth, and I work with Chris. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for InCell. And so this is the first time in my 30-year career being in this space, having very little work on our end. We actually had Medicare reimbursed at 100% without us doing much of anything. All 12,300 patients actually came to us without sales or marketing, trying to find a solution for having long COVID. And like Chris was saying, roughly 90% of the patients returned in 12 weeks of therapy. And the other amazing portion of this combination of this drug therapy is that only 2 patients had to discontinue because of side effects. So it's extremely well tolerated. So as Chris was saying, it being there's no other diagnostic test on the market that can clearly define between whether you have long COVID or not. So after a patient is treated and when they're retested and they feel better, also the test confirms that they no longer have long COVID. So it's an unmet need, and we're pretty excited about it.
And this is also the test that if they don't have long COVID, but they have Lyme disease, it will show that.
That's right.
It's a multi.
It's a multiplex test. Yeah. We even kind of in the office, we call it the multiplex test. Yeah. Multiplex. Yeah. But right now it's used to distinguish 5 chronic inflammation diseases. And we're going to market on long COVID because of the market need, the 30 million patients who have long COVID. And we'll quickly follow with a Lyme disease test, chronic Lyme, for the 6 million patients in that space.
Question.
Yes.
A couple of quick questions. On the therapeutic side, do you intend to go continue with your lab approach, or are you going to intend to work with West and the others to do this? Because eventually you have a therapeutic, you have a diagnostic, you might have a combination. You go, over diagnostic. Collaboration. The second question is really the localization side of things. Collaboration on any valid money coming from it. Have you guys started talking? Have you guys had a conversation with large farmers like the Pfizer's to partner on the commercialization of the product?
Yeah, so that's a couple different questions. So on the diagnostic, we certainly would consider a kind of a broad market expansion or a partnership with a LabCorp or a Quest. And I'm sure they would invite that, given the total addressable market, the size of the market, and the data that we have behind our existing diagnostics. And like I said, we're already in the market selling right now with kitted solutions for third parties. So it's easy for us to turn on a LabCorp or a Quest. On the pharma side, we are definitely having on our roadmap to develop a partnership with like an AbbVie or someone on the big pharma side who could help with distribution in the chronic inflammation space. We also have a strong interest in cancer. And so it's not something that we're announcing yet, but it's certainly part of our roadmap. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but typically when you go through the phase 1 and phase 2, right? You start now you're going.
So just if I
Yeah,
could just
sure.
share real quick. So the gentleman that will be the chief medical officer of the company has, his name's Dr. Stefan Blue. He spent 20 years heading up the University of Miami cancer program, and then he went into industry, became the head of global oncology for Celgene and then Regeneron. And so he's come on board, and the entire team that Chris and I put together with our CEO and founder Bruce Patterson are all pharma background folks across the commercial and on the writing of the protocol, the medical side. So it's all pharma. Our intention is that we're going to be less than 32 weeks away from having FDA clearance on the test and an approval on the therapeutic. And then we feel we'd be in a stronger position to talk with partners after we get a little further, or at least have an interim analysis from the results of the study. As Chris was saying, since we've treated 12,300 patients, we know how these patients are likely to respond. It's a little bit of a crystal ball into how we expect patients will do on the clinical study. So we're very optimistic about it.
Fantastic. Well, guys, it's a great job. Thank you so much.